Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm doing a smooth thread treatment on my beautiful patient here. So this is actually her third and final treatment. I typically like to do 3 treatments, 4 to 6 weeks apart, and then give the body a break. So I usually like to wait 3 months after the third and final treatment, see her back and kind of reassess, because at that point, that's when she should have peak collagen production. So then we can kind of reassess and see, does she like it? Do we want to repeat the series and kind of go from there? The area we're focusing on her today is the submental area. So you can see it's actually looking really good. We've done, again, 2 treatments already. So this is her third. So we're just going to go ahead and mark her up. So this area there's different ways of marking it up. For her, she always likes to have a little bit more definition of the jawline, as well as tightening up the loose skin in the submental area. So the pattern that I like to use is kind of like the horizon or sunset or whatever you want to call it. And I place them like this so that thread ends up underneath the tissue. It's kind of focusing on this entire area, so it'll help tighten up the main submental pocket, but it'll also kind of help tighten up the skin along the mandible to give her some more definition of the jawline. So I'm going to go ahead and lay her back. Okay, so I got her laid back. You can kind of see my treatment plan of what I'm going to do. This is just one example. Another example would be kind of doing like a ladder technique like this, just straight down into the submental area. Some people do like a star in that area. It really just depends on the patient and what they need. What's kind of nice about smooth threads in general is that there's really no wrong. You kind of just do whatever will be the most beneficial for the patient. So today I'm using VSoft 29 by 40 screw or twisted threads. So I'll kind of show you the thread up close. You can see that the thread itself is still a smooth thread, but it's twisted around the needle, hence why it's called screw or twisted. And why we like to use these is because they stimulate a little bit more collagen than just the plain mono smooth threads, because it requires more length to kind of wrap it around the whole needle. So obviously the more PDO, the more collagen we're going to get. This is one area that I usually do like to use twisted threads in, because most people in this area tend to have a little bit more like heavier tissue. So the more collagen, the better. When you're placing these threads too, it requires a little bit more oomph. So you'll see that once I break through the skin and I advance, once I meet this area right where the pledget is, you'll meet a little resistance. So you just have to kind of give it an extra little push, and you can see that that kind of just like popped right into place. I usually like to push them as close to the hub as possible to ensure that the thread actually stays in the tissue. I'll do one more. I'm actually going to do one more on this side. I focused the majority of them on her left side, so they're a little uneven, only because, which I forgot to mention in the beginning, this area on her is like a little heavier than this area, and she notices it. So I focus more of the collagen on this side as opposed to that side. Again, no right or wrong, just depends on what the patient needs. So they're all placed. I'm twisting them 360 degrees. It does not matter what direction. And then with the twisted threads especially, I like to put some decent pressure on the distal end of the needle before I remove, to ensure that the thread actually stays under the skin. Sometimes the threads get really tightly bound around the needle, so you need to hold over it like this when you're removing to make sure it slips off. And then I obviously always just kind of check and make sure I look at the needle and make sure that the thread is actually off and that it stayed in the skin. If it didn't, it's kind of a waste of a thread, but just grab another one and replace it. And that is it. So I'm gonna get her cleaned up, and then usually she'll have a little bit of redness and swelling, mostly just today. The downtime for smooth threads really isn't too bad. She may have a little bit of bruising. I don't see any immediate bruising, so that's a good sign. And then, as I said, this was her third treatment, so I will see her back in 3 months and kind of reevaluate and see if we are going to repeat the series or not. And if not, I usually like to maintain that area and kind of do smooth threads once a year, just to maintain, keep stimulating that collagen and keep her aging as gracefully as possible. So thanks for watching, everybody.